Hi everyone, this is Patrick from Small Room Productions, and I just want to thank you guys for coming and visiting my video. This is the first of many. I just moved, so I apologize for the poor audio quality. It's just within time, the productions of my video will be better. But I want to go ahead and show you guys a trick today. For the next time you guys plan to maybe be recording vocals. Now here I have a track. And these two tracks are actually my vocals. Now, these two tracks weren't sung at separate times. They were sung at the same time. So I ended up setting up the singer with two mics. And it's quite an interesting concept. It can be very helpful, but it has to be done correctly, or else you could run into some problems. So let me go ahead and first play you a little bit of the clip.
Should I stay? Should I let you go? There's something that you don't explain. I already know. Tell me if you miss this physical.
Alright, so that's plenty of that, and you guys get the idea of the song. So I just wanted to show you things to consider when doing this. Now, the great part about this is that you can have two excellent mics, especially if you have the luxury of working with some really nice microphones, to blend the sound of the two of them. When I first was introduced to this idea, we ended up using a U47 and a C37. Two wonderful mics with different sounds, and you know, the idea just came about, why not use both? So we ended up blending the two sounds together. You know, we would go here to our fader and we would blend the sounds. Now you can either blend the sounds, match them, or this is even a great idea if you have a client that comes in and you're not necessarily sure what kind of mic you want to use on them. So you just pull out two mics and you record, and you can A and B between the both of them and see if one of them will suffice or if you could use both of them. I think this is a great idea. But if your intention is to even consider blending the two mics, you also have to think about this, is phase. That's our biggest problem when using this technique. Even when it comes into other instruments like guitars or anything else, you have to consider the phase. Now, those who are familiar with the recorder man style, generally what you would do is you would have your snare and you would have your overhead sitting above. And when you have your overhead sitting above, to make sure that the two overheads are in phase with one another, you would stick a string on the center of the snare and take the string and measure it, make sure it's the same distance apart, the same amount of string. So now you don't have to do this for your vocalist, but what you want to do, since the mics are going to be close, is make sure that the capsules are aligned. So if we look here at these this vocal, I'll zoom in, and you can see that these are pretty spot on, and that's your idea. You know, that's the idea, is to go ahead and get them as close as you can to be in phase, or else the results of it just won't sound good. So with that said, I want to go ahead and show you with just a few pictures of how I did the setup during this project. So let me go ahead and minimize Pro Tools. I got some pictures here. Sorry, they're Instagrammed, whatever. Anyways, but you can see I had this tube microphone. Generally, also when you do this, you want to have the tube microphone on top. People say usually the heat rises from the tube, and if you're going to do this idea, do it on the top. My reasons was, unfortunately, I didn't have the luxury to put it on top with the with this MyLab condenser mic. It was very stubborn, and if it was going to be done, it needed to be on top. So that's the only thing you have to do differently from this picture. But if you look closely, you see where this line is on this tube microphone, and I kind of use that as a line to know that the capsule is probably about there. So if you look, I kind of use this line as a guideline, make sure it cutted through this mic evenly. So even if you look here, you see a little bit more of the inside of the grill of these microphones, and this is pretty lined up down the center of it. So that's my way in this scenario, how I made sure that these mics were in phase. Now, how to know when your mics are not in phase. You will get a sound that is very hollow. I mean, I could actually probably even demonstrate that for you. Let's say, let me ungroup these here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this track, and we're just going to move it slightly. Let me solo this too, so that way you guys can hear just the raw audio. Get rid of its effects. Oh, grouped. There we go. Make sure.
Should I stay?
So those are the two mics that are in line. But if I come here and I were to make a very small delay, oh, this is on grid, might help if it wasn't, you can probably hear the difference.
Should I stay? Should I let you go?
Excuse that. Okay, now let's hear what it would sound like back in the original way.
Should I stay? Should I let you go?
So you can probably already hear a difference in the sound. Another way to kind of check to see how close a line they are is to take an EQ, as I have one here, and throw it on one of the tracks. This is a simple one band. I'm not going to even use any of the actual EQ parameters. The only thing I'm going to use here is this phase. And what should happen is a majority of the sound, when two things are exactly the same, and you throw one in out of phase, it should theoretically disappear. You shouldn't be able to hear anything. All the frequencies are canceling out. Now, of course, this scenario is a little different because we have two mics that sound a little different. So there will be some, but as long as a majority of it is gone, that's how you kind of know that these tracks are in phase. So if we hear this now with the EQ on, so you can kind of hear there that a majority of the audio, the body of it all, is gone. So we know that most of the two tracks together are being combined very well. So with that said, that pretty much leads to it. The other thing you also want to consider is I've done this a couple of times, and I have run into a phase issue even with the mics aligned, and I don't know if it's for one specific reason. When I did that one time and they weren't aligned, it's because I used two different preamps. So I'm assuming that the preamps that I used, one of them was running through a Vintech, the other one an API, is that the difference in sound between the Vintech and the API created more frequencies allowed to be out of phase with one another. So I would recommend when doing this is once you have your two mics to also use probably the two same pre's, so like a stereo pair of Vintechs or APIs or whatever that you can get that you know are going to be kind of like a matched pair for one another. That I think would be in the best results. For anyone who has attempted this technique and has had great results using two mic pre's, please feel free to comment and educate us more. We're all a community wanting to learn from this. So that's it, guys. Thank you, and hope to see you soon.